the Director of Digital Learning in ISD. He will also take sessions in the Praveen University. He is going to
All right, so who is the youngest of the group here?
This kid.
Whoever is snoring is the youngest.
What? No, he's 11.
He's 11? Okay. How old are you?
She's younger than me.
Okay. All right. So I'm going, so we know we have, so I was telling Sarita when I came and then I saw the room. I see from kindergarten to postgraduates, right? Did you know that long time back, where the world was not so big, it's a very tiny place, there are not many people around, schools were like this, exactly like this, right? There's only one room, the youngest person who comes to school to the oldest person who wants to go to school, they're all in one room and studying together. Is that possible?
Yeah.
It is possible, no?
Yeah.
Someone said no. Some older kids are saying no. Yeah, why not?
Because all of them can't learn the same thing.
All of them can't learn the same thing. And so how do we do education?
They just study everything, the older mind.
They can just study what they want, right?
More like activities.
Other things like,
You can just search something on ChatGPT.
oh wow, what is ChatGPT? I don't know what that is.
It collects information like what people write online.
Oh, I see. And what does it do with it?
I don't know that.
Oh,
It's
we'll,
in your test if you want to see.
oh wow. So very nice. So that's what's happening, with ChatGPT. There's a lot more that you can do other than just help with the test, right?
Help with the assignments.
That too. Very nice. All right. So I'm going to switch between you guys because this is the best group I've had. I've never done a session with, this is called one room schoolhouse. Do you know what that is? That's exactly what I said. Very long time back, all the schools used to be like this because there are not enough people in school to have like that many, classrooms. Today you have probably grades with, 2 or 3 sections for each grade.
4 seconds.
Sometimes 4, maybe 10, right? No. So, sorry? You had about 10. So these one-room schoolhouses is like the entire community, right? It could be a village, it could be a town. They will all come and then stay in the room like this, and there's only one teacher. Now guess what subject the teacher is teaching? Who teaches English, math, physics? Is it one teacher or do you have multiple? There's only one teacher for you, right? So easy.
In our class, there's only one teacher.
There's only one teacher. Yeah, that's what I said. Let's ask them, how many teachers do you talk to?
I can't even count.
There are a lot of them. He can't count.
We're in the same school, but he's in a higher grade. That's why he has more teachers.
Exactly my point. So if you had a classroom where the youngest and the oldest, everyone is in one class, how are we going to manage? How will the teacher, there should be at least 2 teachers, not one. But it turned out only one teacher was managing them. It's very difficult, isn't it? No? It's extremely hard, but then they made it work. The way they made it work is, they would have like...
More space.
What?
By adding more space.
Well, space is always there. Space is not the problem. The problem is the teacher can go mad. Why? Because I have to teach younger kids like you I also have to teach all the other older kids who are there, right? At the same time. Is it possible?
Yeah, one teacher can be there, one teacher can be here.
But there's only one teacher.
They will call upon by class by class. I think
Oh.
similar kind of.
Teachers should
Oh, okay. How was your class?
teachers
We
should
will be
take
there from first standard to sixth standard in the same section.
I see.
Same school, and the same group.
Right.
And we will call upon like first standard, second standard, and third standard.
Okay.
Likewise,
So they go round robin. Ah, okay. So these schools are real. I mean, they were there at some point, and then what the teacher would do is typically go, oh, saying here there are a couple of people who are doing science in grade 4 or grade 5. But then the boundaries between grades are not there at all.
We don't have science in
Right.
grade 4 and grade 5.
Well, there is. There used to be. Not in your school. You should go back to the old schools.
6th grade, the science.
I see. So somehow the teachers used to manage, which means the boundaries between all these grades are gone. Since there are no boundaries, then what happens is the teacher is essentially saying, hey, there are these learning goals that we are going to set for them, and then prepare them, and then they would go around one grade at a time or one group at a time, and then that's how they would end up teaching. But then it's impossible to kind of stand in front of the audience and then do a lecture, exactly what I'm facing right now, because I have to switch between the younger audience to the older audience, and I can imagine what that would be, right?
Everyone's old except us four.
Exactly. And me. I'm not old.
You're older than us.
I am. I'm taller and bigger than you. Doesn't mean I'm old.
You have much mustache.
Ah, that's why. All right, we'll come to that again. So anyway, so this is one of the things, how many of you have heard of Khan Academy? All of you did. If you have heard Chat GPT, you should know Khan Academy for sure. You use it. So Khan Academy has this thing called one room, what is it called? One World Schoolhouse, right? They kind of took this concept saying, hey, we are going to build a whole community and get people to help each other, right? And so this community, if you want to talk to someone, learn with someone, you can go sign up onto that, and that's one of those innovations which comes from, this sort of a setting, right? And but this is great. This is very good setting for me to start off with this one-room schoolhouse idea. I forgot about it totally until I came here. So thank you, Sarita and others, Now, let me kind of tell you why I'm here. I've heard that all of you want to, are thinking about innovation. You're thinking, you're not? Are you thinking about food?
No,
What are you thinking about?
nothing.
How can that be? Yeah.
For me, I'm planning to be an angel investor. So what I'm really thinking about is trying to figure out, picking out, iska bad hai, iska acha hai, let's hear which one to invest later in the future. Will come one.
Very nice. How did you get that idea?
But it was actually not that recently ago. I went to a banker. That's when I explained to him that I wasn't really sure what to do. Then he gave me that idea, investing. Then later I thought, what are investing? Then I saw angel investor helps startups in exchange for equity. That's when it clicked.
Very nice. So even now, let's give him a round of applause for that. Very nicely put. Even now, if you ask me, I don't think I can do a better job of explaining what an angel investor is, because I've never heard of that, definitely at your age and, more recently, right? I mean, there's...
I've been reading books.
Since when? On angel investing?
Yeah.
Okay. When was it the first time?
Well, first time, actually just a couple of days ago, because it took a long time for that book wala to ship it here.
I see. All
Because
right.
it came from America.
Right. So good, you're thinking about it. But are you? Hey, did you guys eat? Are you hungry?
Yeah.
What do you do if you're hungry?
Yeah. Try to entertain myself.
Okay, good. But here, there are some of us right around you. Just look around. They're very curious to know what I'm going to talk about right now. And so just give me 10 minutes, okay? Then we'll all go eat some food. But I need to talk to them and then I'm going to come back to you guys. And we'll talk about ChatGPT.
I'm just drinking coffee or hot milk.
You're way too young for that, no?
No.
No?
My mother allowed me.
Ah, nice. Okay. So, all right. So, let me switch back. So, what were we talking about? So, we said, we were talking about angel investing. So, that's one of the things, I didn't know for a very long time. But innovation, right? I mean, people talk about innovation. People talk about starting businesses, startups, or there's value creation, etc. And so I've never been, successful in any of that. I started, studying computer science. You know what computer science is? What do computer science people do? It's a language. No, it's not a language. It's science.
No, like he's saying it teach language.
No, I did not say that.
Well, you need to learn what English, no? English?
No.
Then?
I think he means
Mind racing.
Oh, I see. You're talking about the computer language. What language does the computer speak in?
English.
Binary, right? So what is binary?
Binary.
Binary code.
What is binary code?
It's basically like a bunch of ones and zeros.
It's a bunch of ones and zeros. Can we talk in binary? Should we talk in binary? What does
The
that?
binary brothers from Cobra Kai.
No, not that. We are talking about zeros and ones. Can we talk in zeros and ones? No?
No, we can't.
Then how are we going to talk to the computer then? So you type it out. That's pretty good. So you start typing. All right, I think they have some very nice, interesting things for you. They're trying to take you there. Do you want to go or stay here?
I can go like this.
Okay, if you're going to stay here, there's one condition. Otherwise, there's a ground rule now.
Okay.
What's that? If you're going to be here, we are not going to speak for the next 10 minutes unless I ask you to. Otherwise, you can go do all the noise or play around outside. What would you like to do?
Stay here, I guess.
And then let me speak?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Then you can stay here. All right? Deal? Yes? That's okay. Let them. That's fine. No, you can sit here. That's fine. No, it's fine. But don't talk until I ask you to. I'll give you your turn to speak. Good? So, we'll pick it up from there. Language. So, you have computers and they kind of operate in 0 and 1. And then you speak English, you speak probably Hindi or Telugu, whatever. But then, computer science is not just language, right? It's all about, there's this device. You need to know how to engineer all of that.
Need to program it.
That comes later, but before that, the device has to be engineered, created, and so on. There are a lot of things that go into actually building it, right? So computer science goes into not just programming, but really trying to understand how this device does all the computations or calculations, right? And people do study that so that they are able to build these computers. And they're able to build the software on top of it. After building the software on top of it, like the operating systems, then comes your programming languages, right? There are a lot of steps below that.
I'm learning Python and
That's very good. So now I've been doing computer science for a lot of time. I studied that in college. Now, after coming out of computer science, I thought I should go do research in computer science, maybe go teach, right? Why did I get that idea? You have a question?
No, I don't.
Okay, you said this.
No.
Oh? Okay, I probably saw you
I was
raised
doing
hand.
something else.
I see. Huh?
Probably stretching like that.
Yeah. All right. Computer science. So after studying computer science, I was thinking about, okay, what do we do, right? In terms of whether to go find a job or to go do research or to teach, right? So this is what was running on my mind. Why did I choose these options? Because when I was studying in India, I thought I should definitely go find a job like everyone else. People would push you to go get a job and settle down. Then I had an opportunity to go to CMU, Carnegie Mellon, where I did my postgraduate. So this is a master's program. And when I went there, I think that changed the entire perspective, right? One, research was extremely important for you to do because people over there, right? I was walking through one lab to the other lab and so on. Most of the inventions have actually happened there. And so you kind of get so inspired by looking at all of these labs and the work that goes on. Then I was like, I should definitely go get a PhD. So I'll start doing research. Now, when I started that pursuit, I was like, maybe, there's a lot more fun things that are happening out there. Because with computers, what you can do is just like you said, Python, right? When you start writing code, you start building something, it gets super exciting. Why? Because you build these things, they can sit on your phone as apps, right? And when these apps are put on the phone, how many people can actually use those apps? The number of phones that are there in the world, right? And how many phones are there in the world? Can we count? A lot is a good answer, but not the...
No, because one thing is we can count, but to need the power of something like government.
Why? No, we'll just count. We'll go to the government later. That's more complex, right?
We need to all the
So,
world.
how many phones do you think we'll have in the world?
1 plus.
Everyone will have at least one phone? And
No, not everyone.
some people may also have two. Some people may have 5. See, they have 2 or 3 flashing there.
I have two.
So which means almost everyone can maybe having a phone, right, on an average.
Yes.
And how many people do we have living in this world?
8 billion.
8 billion. So there are at least 8 billion phones.
Yeah.
So which means the chances that if you build an app for the phone and then it sits on one of those phones, there are 8 billion people who can end up using, right, if you create something nice.
Not tech.
What you said Chat GPT. Who said Chat GPT? You said Chat GPT. How many people are using Chat GPT?
We can't use
3 billion.
3 billion?
half the people might not use ChatGPT. Yeah.
A lot.
Use ChatGPT.
A lot of them use, and Chat GPT probably went to 1 billion very fast, right? A lot of.
I use ChatGPT on my phone.
That's what I'm saying, and there are a lot of other kids who use like you and older people as well.
GPT to make YouTube videos.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
ChatGPT tomorrow. YouTube videos. Tomorrow YouTube.
All right. So again, coming back to your, you're not talking until I ask you to. Let's get back to that again. I'm not looking at your hand raise as well. Okay. So that was the power of, computer science, right? I was like, okay, let me go build these things, build systems. And that is what really drew my attention. And one of the things I ended up doing was, learning has always been something which came to me as a passion, right? So I was like, how do people learn? Do you know how you learn? Do you know how you learn? This is a very trick question. See, no one's talking right now.
I do.
Okay, if you know how to learn, raise your hand, and I'm going to call out. Okay, all the younger people are saying. All right, so why don't we start from there, and then I'll go around.
So I learned by doing that activity, whatever it is.
Okay, so You're learning by doing the activity. All right, let's go to the next row from there.
Reading, writing, and implementing.
You're reading, writing, and implementing, which is also like doing something. Reading, writing, and doing something. How about you?
I learned by like visuals, like or like by like doing like hands-on activities.
Hands-on activities. Okay. We'll go to this row here.
You learn by understanding the topic you're trying to learn.
By making sense of what this means. Okay.
I learn only by reading. I am not a visual learner.
So reading. You?
I learned through experiences.
Through experiences, like example.
I mean, if you're talking about mammals or animals, or if you're talking about anything for that matter, baking, or yeah, I just learned by doing things again.
Learn by doing things again. Do you? By understanding. I'm not going to ask you guys, so I'm going to come back to you at the end. At the end. So I'm going to come to this table, which is very quiet. Okay, how do you think you learn?
But like seeing something and then practicing it or something.
You're seeing something, practicing it. Okay, and you?
I learned by repeatedly doing.
Repeatedly doing. Interesting.
You learn by a source of information that is delivered by your brain. Some of it is like subconscious.
Your brain is delivering?
Like repeat, if you do like a bicycle, let's say after practice sometime. But also if you're talking about like intellectual, there's here that is done by your brain deciding to keep that in long-term memory instead of deeming it useless and throwing it to short-term memory. That's a scientific way we learn how to learn.
Okay, I'm going to test everyone here on what you said right now. Okay, I'll come back to that. Okay, let's go back.
If I'm doing something
Repeatedly doing something.
I would put my all senses into something. Right?
Sorry, all?
All my senses, like
All your senses into that activity. Okay. All right, let's go there.
repeatedly doing.
Repeatedly doing.
I guess you don't have the same answer.
Repeatedly doing it. Okay. Sarita, we'll go to you.
Same, I think by doing and implementing whatever I am observing.
Mm-hmm. And you? Observing. Okay. Okay. All right. So, should we go to the most important table here? Yeah, we have.
I would say the minimum gap that you have between read, retain, and reproduce.
Sure, they already said.
Right. Sorry?
They already said.
Yeah, they already said, but I gave them one more chance. They had some other thoughts. So I'm going to go to you. So how do you learn? By experiencing. How about you?
Whenever my teacher and my mom tells something, I keep practicing it until it gets stuck in my brain cells.
And how do you know it's getting stuck in your brain cells?
Because I can't get it out.
Okay. And you?
I just learned.
You just learn.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
I
And
learned
you?
by eating food because if
By
I eat
eating
potato chips,
food.
I like it. Then I know that I like it. If I eat sushi, I learn that I hate it unless it's avocado sushi.
Fantastic. Very nice. So what do you think is common across the board?
Nothing.
Everybody does.
Everyone gave some response to how we learn, right?
Yeah.
What do you think is the common thing
Everybody
of
learns.
Food.
everyone learns, right?
Oh, I thought it
But
was knowledge.
knowledge is common, sure.
Everyone doesn't.
Everyone learns, that's also another thing.
Everyone doesn't know.
Everyone doesn't learn is also a thing.
Most people have different answers.
Everyone learns at their own pace, at their own form of medium.
Everybody can
That's
figure
good.
it out of their head.
Absolutely. So let me now tell you what I see is very common, right?
Everyone can.
Although all of this is very common, okay, there's one thing which everyone said, and to me, the thing that is very, common across everyone is everyone has their own style. They know or they don't know how they're learning. They either know or they don't know. And it's very different. Some people want to learn by doing. Someone said by observation. And then someone said conversations. I talked to someone and they tell me something, it sticks in my brain cells or whatever. So,
What is my category in then?
no, your category is you have delivered some knowledge. I need to test everyone on that.
Oh yeah.
So we,
So I give the scientific answer.
yes, absolutely. I mean, you use a lot of science in there, and it is packaged. So, coming back to this thing, right? The one thing that excited me the most is that I think most of the schools, colleges somehow stuck to the format of there should be a teacher coming into class and then delivering a lecture, giving an assignment, and then there's an exam. And that pattern is something which is very commonly seen in most of the schools and colleges. And so, to me, what occurred to me was when everyone has their own way in which they want to learn, and a lot of them said, hey, I don't like to sit in a class. I don't like to kind of be in like class for 4 to 6 hours, right?
What do you mean 4 to 6 hours? There are classes that are on, you cannot, there are school days
So,
only 4 hours.
If you kind of see the age groups, right? The people who are in school for 4 hours to people who are in school for 8 hours.
I'm in 8 hours.
So
We are in 8 hours. I'm in 8 hours. Yeah.
you're also doing 8 hours?
8 hours sucks.
What do you do for 8 hours?
Study.
Oh wow.
Or we also have lunch break and milk break. Or we just keep our classes by heading
That
to
is
the
true.
bathroom. Or we just
All of-
bunk our classes.
All of that also counts. All right. Again,
Or also you can do ETC.
so there are a lot of other people around you guys who want to kind of listen to what I want to say. So again, let's go back to that mode, okay? We are not talking until I ask you to. All right. So that one thing that everyone learns differently kind of clicked, and I said, okay, the only way we can get rid of the older practices which were very difficult for a lot of kids to learn is to kind of say that, okay, bring in technology, bring in computers into the classroom, computers into education so that people can learn on their own, right? And so we have a way of dealing with this, saying how do we bring all of that knowledge into the computer and then make sure that everyone has their own teacher or a tutor, right, of their own, where they can go ask that tutor saying, hey, I don't know whatever that topic is, explain it to me, right? And then, so basically what we are saying is, we are trying to bring all of that knowledge into one place so that it is accessible, right? So that problem is solved. We don't need to worry about it. Earlier, that was a bigger problem, right? It wasn't easy for people to get access to knowledge. Now, once that knowledge is already available, it is now in your hands, it is accessible. Does learning automatically happen? No. Absolutely not. So what do you have to do in order to learn?
Yeah,
right?
it might. Yeah, it might.
How-
Automatically too.
It's not our turn right now. No?
What?
I didn't ask you to talk, so you're supposed to be quiet.
But you asked the question.
No. I asked them, not you guys. All right. So getting back to this idea, learning, if it has to happen, what do you think should be done? I might read a book, I might do some activity, I might also go attend a class or whatever, right? But then for learning to actually occur, what does it really mean? How do we know that we have learned? Someone told me something and it sticks in my brain cell. Is that learning?
We can apply it to real life.
If you can apply it to real life. So which means I may have learned something in, say, physics or whatever, right? Mathematics. And then someone gives me a problem saying, can you now solve it? If I can solve it, then I've learned. Otherwise, I didn't learn. Is that a fair way to say that you have learned? So that's what do we call that in schools?
Knowledge.
That's an exam. That's a test, right? How many of you have taken tests? All of you took tests. How many of you like tests?
No. It's okay. No. It's okay.
So only the younger ones.
Take tests, sir.
No.
The older ones don't like tests. Why do we not like tests?
Because we have to actually need to prepare ourselves, and that's something that takes a lot of hard work, and most of us are lazy people who don't take care about the actual subject.
Should we then say that?
Also because we break our heads. It's kind of pressure on like one big prayer like hopefully.
Right. Yeah, so it's a lot of pressure. So we don't want to kind of get into that pressure and then, deal with exams. And then that one exam will decide whether I learnt or not, right? That's one of the perceptions.
I don't have any pressure.
Not yet.
Not yet. That's your life will have done.
Basically, I had so much stress.
So if you,
I fail my parents.
hey,
Let's not talk
guys,
internally, okay?
again, we are on that timeout, okay? So exams have that connotation, right? It kind of, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of stress, and then you don't know, how you're going to perform until you get this scorecard which says that, hey, you have taken the exam, this is the grade which you got. And that exam essentially reveals, that report card reveals on whether you have really got it or you didn't get it, right? And so it's very, very difficult. It's very tricky to be in an exam situation, and no one likes it. No one likes it to a point where it has an outcome, right? It has a result, and
You're padlocked with your book in a room.
sorry,
You feel like you're padlocked with a book in your room.
why?
What? You feel like that you are locked inside a room with your books.
Oh, when you're preparing for the exam.
Yeah.
Did you already feel that way?
Half the time.
You're very young for. Okay. All right. So, I mean, those are the kind of emotions we all attach, right, in terms of how we prepare for exams, and that's not the more, pleasant feeling. But it turns out that, tests are actually one way for you to put everything that you have learned together and then say that, okay, it is for yourself to really understand, right? Whether you learned it or you didn't. But then the problem is somehow the tests are done at the end of the semester, right, or end of the term or end of the year, and then it becomes too much for us to kind of handle. But what if tests are like given every day, right? If you took tests every day, you're essentially prepared for that, right? And you have a much better sense of what's going on with your own learning. But then that was not possible for teachers to conduct earlier. Now that there is technology out there, it is now possible for people to conduct these tests as you're learning. And so that's another innovation, that I've seen, where you say that convert everything into a test, and if you want 1, 2, 3, 4 learning goals that are set for the kids, you want to make sure that all these goals have to be met. So you design tests which really measure learning and get people to use them as tools, right, to test their own understanding, is a much better way of taking tests rather than putting everyone on this pressure of actually taking the exams. So when I had to kind of deal with this, test situation, so there was some, method. I don't know if I can bring this topic in, but then it may be useful to think about it this way. Now, what is a good test? If, let's say, I'm a teacher and I want to design a test, what would be a good test versus not so effective test? Sorry?
Where the result is 100%.
Oh, so if I have 100 people in class, if everyone takes the test, I get 100 on everyone gets 100. Is that a good test?
No, not that way.
Not really.
Can I?
Not really. Why not?
If they get to learn, then it is a success. We can assume it as a successful test.
Okay.
Are they able to apply?
I'll come to you. I know you have a very packed answer.
Are they able to apply it in real world?
Yeah. So it turns out the way tests were designed, right? I've talked to a lot of instructors who design tests and so on. The way they would think about tests, right? There's this math professor who teaches in CMU, and in his class, he promises the class that the final exam is going to have questions which you have never seen during our classes. So everything is going to be absolutely brand new, right? And you would not have seen any of those questions online as well. So which means they make up the tests at that point. It's almost like if tomorrow is the test, I wake up today, prepare the test paper, and then give it. And then there are also some other tests which are, you have a very predictive question paper. So let's say if there are 10 questions that come up in the test, you're sure shot, you can guess what those 10 are going to be, and then you'll see them. Now that's the other end of the spectrum, right? Now tests can be as hard as the more, open-ended ones, or more predictable ones. Which ones would you want to really take?
Predictable ones.
Why?
Because it's easy, and if you don't like the subject, you don't really care about learning.
Right. So that's what everyone says. But then the problem is, because they're so predictable, what do you end up doing? You kind of
Passing.
you mug up, right? There's memorization that happens, but you don't make sense of what the material is. But then on the other side, you might have a complete surprise. There's no preparation you need to do. You just show up for the exam. If you really made sense of the material that was given to you during the semester, then you know that you will give your best shot in the test. And there's nothing to prepare. So there's no exam pressure, right? There's a lot of interesting debates that have happened at CMU with some of the faculty. One of them said, whenever there is an exam schedule which is announced, very close to the exam, there are a lot of students who reach out to counselors because they're stressed out. There's panic attacks and whatnot. That's not good. And there's also a fun part to that. It turns out that there are a lot of professors who receive emails with a lot of excuses. And the most popular excuse, that I heard of is, my grandmother died or something, right? They make up all kinds of excuses, in these things, saying, I can't show up for the exam. And it turns out they did collect all these reasons, and all these reasons are just to avoid the exam, right? There's so much pressure. So I felt this approach of saying, if you did not know, right, on what will come up on the test, that is the best possible situation, because all you have to do is whatever the learning goals are and the material that is given to you, you have to prepare and then show up for the test. And then if the test is very accurately measuring how well you have prepared, then you know that either you learned it or you didn't. There's no two ways of thinking about it, right? But unfortunately, it's a very, very difficult situation for faculty to do that. Very few faculty members end up designing tests of that kind. And the obvious reason is, students can't handle failure. So what if I fail in the test? What is my alternative, right? There's so much that goes on. In a college situation, I may have to say, okay, it's fine, I'll drop the course. I won't get the credits for that, but I'll still graduate, it's fine, right? But in other cases, that probably is a core course. You cannot not pass it, so it becomes an absolute must for you to do it. And so it's not very clear to the students, right, in terms of you need to constantly guess, saying, okay, let me go see the website on how the historic information is on this test. Let me talk to my seniors who have taken this course before, or talk to my teaching assistants and so on. There's so much anxiety around tests in terms of how people prepare for it, but it's real, right? And that anxiety is very real. So I thought there has to be a much better way for us to, deal with the way the entire thing is set up. And that's when I found that, getting people to actually do things in class is much better, because then you're training them to not just, you can always listen to some videos or read books at home and then come to class, but it is that doing which kind of creates a lot of gap. I may read something from the book, but I may not be able to solve a problem. That's where I think a teacher can play a huge role in terms of getting everyone together into class and getting them to actually do things, right? And that also has a very fancy name to it. Have you heard of flipped classrooms? Flipped classrooms.
Classroom where the students teach the teacher.
Oh, that's a very interesting take. I'll come to that in a minute. But the flipped classroom idea is that the teacher is not giving lectures in class for you to consume information, but you're doing that at home. Maybe, with your parents or brothers or siblings around. And then you're coming into class where the problems, the homeworks that are given are actually done with the help of the teacher and others in class. So it's like a social activity in class, and then you kind of solve problems. So that's the flipped classroom. Now, what you're talking about is another flip, right? This is where you want to repeat it?
Yeah, so basically a flipped classroom where the students teach what they are supposed to learn, and the teacher, validates, okay, this is right, this is not right.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, the student is the one who is teaching.
Yeah, and this is learning by teaching, right? And it turns out that teachers learn the most. Why?
They learn what the student is doing.
Exactly. They learn how the students are doing, where are they able to, apply these well, where are they not able to, succeed, and so on, right? There's a lot of learning that goes on, and repeated, right? Year on year, they are dealing with that subject matter, and they're explaining it. So it kind of becomes second nature to them to think about it that way. So learning by teaching is it's not called flipped classroom in this case, but it has its own set of experiments. Stanford has, there's a professor there who created this thing called a teachable machine. So the experiment was that the students who are learning are given this teachable machine. So because the teacher can't listen to all the students teaching at the same time, they said the students will go to the teachable machine and then start teaching it and give the machine a test. So if the student did the teaching right, then the machine would get 100 on 100 on the test. So which means students succeeded in terms of teaching, right? So very interesting way of flipping the whole problem in terms of saying, oh, there's a teachable machine, and then you can design the experience in that way. So a lot of, you have a question?
Second thought I have that the teachable machine, how would it exactly work? Because let's say it's a machine, right? It doesn't have a human brain. Human brain is complex.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
say how it, if you teach machine, it's easy. But then you can remember everything forever, right? But let's say human, it's not that perfect. Let's get something with a mind subconsciously deems, iska nahi chahiye.
So basically, the teachable machine idea is where, if you think, they've tried this in 15 years back, and we are in an age where we are talking about ChatGPT and so on, right? ChatGPT sort of systems are a very nice example of teachable machines. You're essentially giving instructions and asking them to do something, and then they will respond back with an answer. And you're evaluating to see if that response is accurate, good enough for you or not, right? So these are very good examples of teachable machines. Now, are they like us? They are not. How are they really producing the results? There's a whole science around it. So I'm going to stop this with this activity, right? I'm going to now talk about AI and the role it played in education, especially the teachable machines and so on. And especially if ChatGPT always gives you the right answer, does it?
No.
How many of you think it gives you the right answer?
Nine. That you have actually done it.
Do you get...
AI can give it the answer better than humans, but it cannot do the best. Like exact right all the time.
better than humans but not the best?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so there can be something better than what it
No,
does.
no, that's here no. It was like I've actually seen that sometimes for like AIs they're fed false information. Like
Okay.
information cultural.
The only problem with
So let me get back to the point that this guy made when I came in, right? So he said ChatGPT is going to consume all the information that is out there, right? And so let's kind of think about what these machines are actually doing. So these machines have consumed all the data that is publicly available on the internet. Who created all of this data?
Some people that are not.
So it is all internet users. So the internet users have gone on to creating these the text content, images, and so on, and combinations of these, right, including a lot of video content. Now, a machine which is consuming all of this information and organizing all of this information in some way, right, where it can start responding, right, is almost like mimicking, right? It is not really thinking like us, but it is doing a lot of mimic behavior, right? And how does that really work? So if you think about it, these systems are designed like any other computer program to predict what is the next word given the previous set of words that are already there, right? I don't know how many of you understood that.
When we type, we can see that.
Yeah, so this is the predictive text, right? So as you're typing in or as the number of words are there, the next word that comes is dependent on the previous words, right? That is statistics and probability for you, conditional probability, right? And the next word that comes out somehow makes sense. But is that reasoning? Is that rigorous reasoning? It's not, right? Of course, people figured that out 3 years back, that it is not reasoning, and then started to build more advanced models that can reason. But still, it does exactly the same type of reasoning to say that, oh, this is all the words that are there in the prompt or in its context, as they call it, and then you take all of that words and then predict what is the next best word is. It turns out it gives you information accurately most of the time, but it cannot do some things very clearly. For example, calculate. Now, the next word, right, if you say, what is the result of, 8.1 plus 8.8 or something like that, right? Now, this is a calculation. Now, when it has to do a calculation, if you type it into a calculator, there is a method, there's an algorithm of how the result comes out. But if we are using a ChatGPT sort of a system, what is one way for it to compute or calculate and then tell you the result? It should have seen that earlier, right? If someone in its text has put this calculation, then it should match and then find it. And only then, the result might come out. What if there are errors in that? Now the results will also go wrong, right? And so it is not really an algorithm that is calculating it, but it is something which is matching from the text and then trying to get you the result. Now that's the problem with the conversations. But everything else that you're doing, right, is like a conversation. You ask a question, it tries to match everything to that answer and gives you the right answer. So fortunately, Wikipedia, Reddit, Twitter, all of these are very rich data sources which encode all of the knowledge that is out there. So this is like some of all the knowledge that is out there, right, which is encoded. And so you kind of take all of that and then build these systems. They're pretty good. I use it all the time. But then the only problem is the output that comes out of these systems, you can't blindly take it and then give it away as this is my answer to the question, right? You'll have to really, really get into details, rigorously validate this output and say that, take accountability that, yes, I know this is the right answer. And when you're able to say that, you can use these systems. But if you're not able to take accountability for the answers that you give using these, you shouldn't use it because it can really get you into trouble. All right? Now, there's a lot more that is being done. Very recently, there are more advanced models that have come out, and people have started creating something called agents, right? And agents is not new. Agents have been studied for 30 years. They have been there. But what is happening right now is these agents are able to communicate in natural language because of the large language models. And that enables a lot more power in terms of how these agents can actually perform things much better. A very good example of agents before your ChatGPT was released is the self-driving cars. It's an agent. Why? Because it's able to autonomously do its job of driving, following rules, making sure everyone is safe to the best of its ability, and getting you to the other end, right? So that's the behavior of an agent. You don't have to specifically instruct it on what to do, but you need to say that I want so-and-so goal accomplished. If the agent is trained on working on that goal, it does that job, right? And so the belief is that in education as well, there could be a lot of these agents where these could be agents that help kids with their homework. It can help us do research. It can help us be brainstorming partners so that we can kind of very quickly get a lot of these things done, learn a lot more. But then, again, I'll have to repeat it. You are not sure whether the output is absolutely right until you really process that yourself, critically evaluate that, cross-validate. This cross-validation is a must. You'll get a response. You may not be sure of some things. You may be sure of others. You'll have to go back and then look for another source and then say, is this really right? That cross-validation gets you into the reality, saying, oh, if there's a conflict with two sources, ChatGPT says this, but I know this textbook, which is written by a very well-known author in the field, has written something else. Now you know there's something wrong with the output that is coming out of ChatGPT, right? And so you want to kind of rigorously evaluate that. Only when you do that, you can make the best use of it, and then you'll be able to accelerate your own learning, right, much faster. The reason I chose the title for this talk is we are in that age right now. Things are going much faster, right? There's so much information you can consume. There's so many new skills that you can learn, right? And there are so many things you can get done very, very fast. So to me, it felt like, it's really that time. We are living in that time where, your mind is racing, your heart is racing, and then there are a lot of positive outcomes that can really come out of this. And you really want to embrace the technologies that are coming out there, but again, use them responsibly. Why? Because if you use them responsibly, then you'll be able to accelerate a lot of work in the right direction. But if you don't use them responsibly, you can also do a lot of damage. So you want to make sure that you are absolutely taking care of that. So I don't know how we are doing on time. I don't know if we have exceeded, but I'll be happy to chat if any of you have any questions or if you want to, discuss anything. Happy to be there. Thank you for being so patient. I had really good audience here. I think they're probably tired and went away or whatever, or they're like bored saying done. But if you have any questions for later also, I'm sure you can find my email, or you can search for my name. My website should have an email. Send me an email and I'll respond to you on that. So thank you for listening in, and happy to take any questions.
Does anyone have any questions? Any doubts?
Yeah.
So you said you're going to test everyone based on my answer, right?
Sorry?
You said you're going to test everyone based on my answer, right?
Yeah, but we also talked about tests. What did we talk about tests?
What we talk about tests, we talked about like, what the hell is this? Oh, my car. Where do I? Hello? Here only, okay.
It's only for the audio, the camera.
Oh, okay. So for the tests, we learned there's like two types. The predictable ones, and there's here the, what do you call, let's see, the ones that are like extremely difficult with the new, that you have to actually use the material. Mm-hmm. The problem with this difficult ones is lots of tension and pressure, right? While the problem with the predictable ones is you can't really see if they learnt because just memorizing.
Right.
So the better way for that tests are like, what do you say? That actually doing them.
So I'm going to ask you a question. So when do you give a test?
When do you give a test?
When there is a learning goal. When there is a learning goal.
When there is a learning goal, yes.
Now you said something. I have not set a learning goal for that, and so I'm not giving them a test. They are not prepared to take the test. So don't give a test when there is no learning goal, right?
Right.
That's why I didn't ask the question.
Okay. Wait, so is that done?
We are done.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you very much.
On behalf of the entire team from Goa,
Thank
I would
you.
like to extend my heartfelt gratitude and appreciation for coming all the way to deliver.
Thank
this
you.
very
No, it was a
insightful-
lot of fun.
Yeah, very insightful session. Yes. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and for your valuable time.
Thank you. Thank you.